The Battle of Saratoga is considered the turning point of the American Revolution, a victory that gave the French the confidence to back the Americans and provide ships as well as arms and soldiers. Kenneth Davis's book America's Hidden History said the victory encouraged European support for the American Revolution. On December 1777, France officially recognized American independence. Today we will do an overview of the Battle of Saratoga. Then we will see how General Bergeon's blunders impacted his defeat and ultimate surrender. And finally, we will identify a Saratoga hero as well as a great revolutionary hero. The battle started with the march of the British troops led by General Burgoyne from Canada as they headed to Albany to cut the American defense into two. The British Army moved quickly south and had taken the recently evacuated Fort Ticonderoga. There were some fierce battles as Schuyler eventually made his retreat, leaving a rough road of cut trees behind, slowing the British Army to a near crawl, giving time for the Americans to retreat. General Schuyler was eventually replaced by General Gates, and Robert Mildenkopf in the Glorious Revolution noted, "No one knew it, but the days of retreat in the face of Burgoyne's expedition would be no more." As the British moved farther from their northern supply chain and the desire to acquire horses Burgoyne once promised the German dragoons, as well as being urged by General Riedel to get some much-needed supplies, he sent Lieutenant Colonel Baum on an expedition to Bennington for food and horses and other supplies, but instead of supplies, they were met by Lieutenant Colonel Stark. A battle ensued, and Lieutenant Colonel Stark and the Americans defeated Baum and the follow-on force, reducing General Burgoyne's force and hindering his ability to continue the fight. Burgoyne received this news on August. General Burgoyne, faced with the decision to continue or leave, did not lose any confidence and chose to continue on to his goal for Albany. On September 13th, he crossed the Hudson, moving his entire army over in 2 days and setting the stage for battle. While the Battle of Bennington took place, General Gates set his army at Bemis Heights. His army grew, according to Robert Mildenkopf, up to 7,000 strong. With his defense fortified, he was poised for battle. With the British and American armies close, a battle was brewing. The battle began on September 19th at 10 a.m. Cannon fired, signaling the start of the battle. The British moved, but General Gates did not respond. General Arnold urged General Gates to move the army and begin the fight, but General Gates did not move. After Arnold's continual urging and common sense moves, General Gates gave in around noon. The Americans, led by General Arnold and General Morgan, met the British, and the fight was on. I think author John H. Brando, in General Morgan's part in the Burgoyne's campaign, said it best when he said, "Needless to say, the dogs of war were released. The battle raged on, the British holding the field yet suffering heavy losses, and the Americans testing the British, each army achieving their goal. Neither lost, and both claimed victory." Both armies took a break until October 7th. The British Army again showed the desire for fight, and according to John Brando Gates asked Wilkinson for some advice. The reply, "I would indulge," to which General Gates said, "Order out Morgan to begin the game." The battle began with General Arnold, who was relieved of command, sitting in his quarters. It did not take long, and Arnold, ignoring his removal from command, joined the fight as the British and Americans battled. British General Fraser, adjusting to each move the Americans Americans made, Daniel Morgan, seeing his British counterpart's skill and controlled movements, said, according to John Brando, "That gallant officer on the gray horse is General Fraser. I admire and respect him, but it is necessary to our success that he be put out the way. Take your station in that clump of trees and do your duty." With that shot, General Fraser was wounded and would soon die with no great commander to lead the British army. Seeing their courageous general fall, the army lost their will to fight. No encouragement, not even from General Burgoyne, could drive them, and they retreated to camp, chased by the Americans. Seemingly, with defeat on his mind, General Burgoyne, on October 9th, wrote a letter to General Gates asking to take Lady Harriet Ackland, whose husband was previously captured and held, and on October 16th, the Articles of Confederation were discussed, and General Burgoyne surrendered on October 17th. So how did General Burgoyne blunder such a promising movement? We need to first look at the early part of the Revolution. In May 1775, when Reverend Isaac Jennings quoted Burgoyne, "What 10,000 peasants can keep 5,000 king troops shut up? Well, let us get in and we will find some elbow room." This type of overconfidence was seen again when General Burgoyne, prior to his march from Canada, left on paper his thoughts at the time of what lay before him. "A short, sharp resistance at Ticonderoga. I shall beat them. I shall give them no time to rally. We shall soon hear from St. Leger. The panic will be complete. In 8 days' walk over, we shall be in Albany, our task done." These two quotes showed General Burgoyne's confidence, if not his arrogant attitude toward the American army. And that would be enough, but Isaac Jennings again noted that just before Ticonderoga, Burgoyne said a phrase that would set the tone for his army: "This army must not retreat." Overconfidence is one thing, but that was just one of General Burgoyne's blunders. His proclamation to not destroy bridges and to give troops corn and not destroy the fields for the troops, and to welcome them or he would release the Indians' fury on them. This did not do much to encourage the Americans. Add in the brutal Indian murder of Miss Jane McCrae, which General Gates brilliantly used as the brutal murder to gain propaganda, and that would have been enough, but the fact that General Burgoyne did not punish the Indians was propaganda enough. Isaac Jennings said, "They awakened all the resistance that could express itself on the part of the natives. Their hostility for the Tories was boundless. For the Indians, almost frenzy." But General Burgoyne had more mistakes to make. After loss at Bennington, General Burgoyne's "This army must not retreat" echoed as the dilemma to continue or retreat was presented. His self-confidence not shaken, he decided to move on, fueled by his refusal to give up. After the events of October 7th, Burgoyne was once again left with a chance to retreat. His inability to act would allow General Gates to cut off any form of retreat, thus sealing his fate of surrender. It was General Burgoyne's overconfidence, his ability to understand the loyalty of the Indians that fought with him, the colonists who fought against him, and the power of propaganda that fueled the Americans' will, and his refusal to retreat which set the stage for the American victory. While General Burgoyne's inability to act was one, much of the credit of the victory of Saratoga must go to the great Revolutionary General, Daniel Morgan. His bravery in both battles of Saratoga were seen early, and the value noted earlier by General Washington, who knew of the brutal raids of Burgoyne's Indians and needed an answer, and in August he sent Morgan to General Gates to help the best that General Gates knew. General Morgan's value was on display when on September 19th, General Gates sent Morgan to harass the British. After pushing the British back and killing many officers and Indians, the British were able to disrupt and scatter Morgan's force, but Morgan was able to use his famous turkey call and rallied his troops once again. General Gates, armed with first-hand knowledge of Morgan's usefulness, after receiving from General Washington a letter asking for Morgan's return, According to John H. Brando, General Gates responded by saying, "In this situation, Your Excellency would not wish me to part with the corps that the army of General Burgoyne are most afraid of." The success of Morgan's raiders was seen during the second battle, retiring the great General Fraser from the battlefield and leaving the British army morally defeated. John Brando credits Graham's biography when he reported Gates meeting Morgan, saying, "Morgan, you have done wonders today. You have immortalized yourself and honored your country. If you are not promoted immediately, I will not serve another day." It must be noted that General Gates did not recognize the prowess of his message and did not send the information home to Washington. The Battle of Saratoga set a stage with General Burgoyne poised to defeat the Americans, yet hampered by his blunders and the heroic actions of General Morgan and all the American troops. The revolution turned to the Americans' favor at Saratoga. News traveled quickly and far, and a day of Thanksgiving was declared on December 18th for solemn thanksgiving and giving praise.